All right, I'll be happy to hear your opening statement, Mr. Freed.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, may I do it from the podium?
Of course.
Thank you. May it please the court, Judge. Your Honor, as you are probably aware, eyewitness misidentification is probably the greatest contributing factor to wrongful convictions. We've seen now with DNA in case after case. In fact, in the Innocence Project has reversed many, many convictions that someone came into the courtroom, and it's very powerful to a jury to say that's the guy over there. So we know how powerful that can be. It's very powerful, and yet years later DNA comes in and proves the person who had been identified as the perpetrator is found, it's exonerated. When we got this case, and the reason we filed this motion is that we think that we have very, very deep concerns on the same line with this case against our client, Mr. Lindsey. My roadmap for you today, well, let me stop. And that's also why we asked an expert who is more expert in this area, I think, than myself, maybe the state, or really anybody, Judge, because some of the things from an eyewitness ID expert, are sort of they're not so evident to us that aren't experts in the area. And those are some of the things that you're going to hear about from her tomorrow that may or may not be a factor in this case, is vindicated to the state. Mr. Radigan, again, these are factors, these are concerns for us we want the court to be aware of. The eyewitness ID could be completely right, that's correct. But we think there's enough factors in this case that we certainly want this court to take a heightened look at in this. Now,
Well, may I interrupt you?
sure.
The thing you are trying to suppress, or the things, are Scott and Anderson's lineup identifications, right? Photo lineup IDs.
That's correct, Judge.
So, if you're not trying to suppress Anderson and Scott entirely.
I don't think that we can, Judge. Right, correct.
Right. So, if they were to come into court and testify, and the prosecutor asked them, do you see the person who discharged the firearm, shot the gun on September 15th in the courtroom, and they looked over Mr. Lindsey and said, that's him, would you find that objectionable?
Well, I don't think that that's pressable, Your Honor, at this point.
Right. I'm inclined to agree with you, but I want to make sure I understood what you're looking to do, which is to suppress what you consider the unnecessarily or unduly suggested photo lineup identification.
But I think what we do at that point is to show how the witness came to that conclusion, at that trial date. I have had experts before, and I completely understand how a witness can come to that conclusion. In their heart of hearts, they believe it.
Well, whether this motion is successful, I trust you plan to have your eyewitness experts testify one way or the other.
Yes, right, correct.
Pardon my interruption.
Thank you, Judge. So, I want to give you a roadmap of today, or on this hearing, and what we're indicating to you after consultation with our expert of various factors that I want you to be aware as we go through the hearing. Let's talk first about the first witness would be Brittany Anderson, and what you're going to hear, Judge. September 15th, about 7 o'clock at night. Unfortunately, that's when her son, Major Howard, was shot in a car. It was sort of a drive-by shooting, and we would ask the court to pay attention to the initial reports, the initial statements by Miss Anderson, okay, to various, either police officers at the hospital. She also, yeah, that was right at in the waiting room of the hospital. That was like on the 15th. What happens, Judge, and you'll hear from our expert, that memory is not like a videotape recorder. The human memory is not. We don't just see it, record it, and boom, it's there. Memory is often corrupted, it's changed. We're human beings. These things have an effect. After that evening, and the description that she gives, which is essentially a black male wearing a hoodie, light gray hoodie, that had dark skin. That's all she said. Now, what happens after that is the expert's going to tell you what's called post-event information or post-event misinformation, and I think that she will tell you that she saw things on Instagram. Some of the detectives talked about this as like noise that was happening. What's being said out on the street. Because at the time that she came in and met with Detectives Etnock and Detective Carlin on the 21st, which is about 6 days later. And this is real key. You'll hear this from our experts. We have a moment.
Sure.
Judge, I'm going to show you, this is Defendant's Exhibit 8. This is our client, Donnell Lindsey. Okay. The noise, the post-event information, what we're going to try to show you today is that Nell was somehow involved in this shooting. Okay, Nell was there. Nell was involved. Nell's involved with the 103rd boys. The noise is that the 103rd boys in this white Toyota came up the street, 113, shot out trying to shoot at the rival gang of the Benham boys, generally. But for our purposes, the noise was that Nell was involved. Now that's before, be careful, that's before she came in and gave a statement to Detective Carlin on the 21st. Remember, as I told you before, the only information prior to that was black male, dark skin, wearing a light gray hoodie. That's it. So 6 days later, and this is a key point, Judge, the Defendant's Exhibit A, the picture of Donnell Lindsey, she admits to Detective Etnock and Carlin that she had seen Nell's picture on the news the night before.
May I interrupt?
Yeah.
Is Exhibit A BMV picture?
Yeah, I believe it is, Judge. But to the lineup that the detectives used, it's a BMV picture. But, so, she saw that the night before. Okay? And what also you should be aware is on September 20th, that's when the detectives, they had done some other work circumstantially, and that's when the warrant went out. That's when the fugitive unit was notified, and that's where the arrest warrant for murder was for Mr. Lindsey that Sunday night. So, and then she indicates that she saw that picture of him on the news Sunday night. So what we have is when she comes in on the 21st and does pick him out on the lineup, indicates that that was him, that's the person that killed my son is the response. But in any event, all this other, what I would call post-event information had come in. And we think that that's certainly something you'll hear from our expert about. Later, she gives another interview, I believe on January 27th, so now almost 6 months later. And I would just, again, there's now the case will go on for 6 months.
Well, that's a rather generous time span.
Yeah.
It's more like 3 or 4.
Or 3 or 4 months, I'm sorry, Judge. A few months later, and makes further indications that there was other posted information that I really think to, so at the end of the day, for the purpose of this hearing, with regards to Ms. Anderson, well, I should address the lineup that was shown to him. We have various concerns with the lineup. Our expert will talk to you about that. Not only was Mr. Lindsey in it, but so was one of the other alleged perpetrators. Actually, one person that was charged that was later not charged. Here's my name of Dunnings. But so you'll hear about that today. Various problems within the lineup itself, why we believe that was suggestive and whatnot. So at the end of all that, that is why we're going to ask you to suppress the suggestive lineup, what we believe is a misidentification by Ms. Anderson. Now, as regards Mr. Scott,
I've seen Brittany Anderson's first name spelled 2 ways in this case, A-N-Y at the end and E-N-Y at the end. Do you know which is correct?
right,
E, Your Honor.
B-R-I-T-T-N-E-Y.
Correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. Pardon my interruption.
okay. So, again, Your Honor, regarding Mr. Scott, I think Mr. Scott's testimony is going to be more sort of black and white to the court. His initial, again, when we start out in the early days of the case, he indicates that he was in the house when he heard gunshots. He came out of the house and dove onto the porch, and somehow he is across the street from where the alleged car is coming up, and somehow he was able to see the passenger who, well, he's not sure, because he said both Mr. Lindsey was the passenger and the driver, and I think his testimony is for a lot of reasons, is pointed out by our expert, questionable, and given the, I think when you see and watch the actual photo array that he does, there's a lot of factors brought up that will be brought up by our expert to suggest why that should be suppressed also. So at the end of the day, in regarding the lineup, both of them, the court's well aware of 2933.83 and the law that is supposed to be followed when doing those lineups. So for all those reasons, Judge, in the totality of the circumstances, we're going to ask that the identifications be suppressed. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Radigan.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, I think to start off, we know that there's going to be an expert called in this case, specifically here on the motion to suppress, and then later on in trial if these identifications are allowed to come in. And I think the thing that I would like this court to keep in mind when listening to this witness and listening to her opinions about identification and the process of identification and the things that could go wrong during identification is that even within the expert's report, Your Honor, there's a statement that this witness will not and cannot make a determination whether or not the things that have been testified to by any witness are true or not true. And I think the important thing to remember when evaluating this witness and the witness's testimony is that the factors that she's talking about, the things that she's talking about, or is it that the expert is talking about, is that these are things that could or may or can, but she or he, and I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a he or she, the expert cannot say to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that any particular witness is affected, was affected, or could be affected by these things. These are all just things that can, could, sometimes do, but we're not able to say for certain that these are the things that affected the identification in this case in particular. Now, the importance of that, Judge, is that when we've seen these witnesses testify at trial throughout the state of Ohio and other places, is that these are things that are to be considered by a jury and by this court as a weight of the evidence issue rather than an admissibility of the evidence. And it's important because...
And I'm sorry for interrupting you, I think Mr. Green agrees with you. He's already essentially said these witnesses will be allowed to testify, whether they're allowed to describe picking Mr. Lindsey out of a lineup, or whether a detective is allowed to describe that is one thing, but these witnesses will be allowed to testify.
But I think, Judge, what the defense is trying to do, and I don't want to put words in their mouths, but I think what they're trying to do is have this witness testify, this expert testify, to the things that they believe could have affected this, but not it did affect this photo lineup, but just that it could. And I think that having this witness testify in the suppression hearing is going to the identification process of the photo lineup. And that's why I just want to bring it to the court's attention that this is all weight of the evidence things rather than admissibility of the evidence. And the court really should be looking at, in this hearing, Judge, not that expert's testimony, but the process that was used for the identification, the photo lineup. Was it unduly suggestive? Was there blind administrators? Were these blind administrators, was the sentence and the reading of these photo lineups given to the witnesses correctly? Those are the things that the court should be considering when determining whether or not the photo lineups will be admitted into court, not what could have affected or can affect, because I think that's outside of what would make these photo lineups admissible. And Judge, I think at the end of the day, we'll wait to see what the witnesses testified to here in this court, how the process was followed, the photo lineups that were used, and I think at the end of the day, Judge, this court should and will find that the photo lineups that were used were not unduly corrupted, they were not prejudicial, and following that up, Judge, with the identification, and we're not going to deny that Miss Brittany Anderson saw a photograph before coming in there. It was said, and you'll see if the defense is going to play it, that she tells the police this at the time that she makes the photo lineup, and she says, when I saw his picture on the TV, I knew that was him. I didn't think I would be able to recognize him, but when I saw him, I knew that was the guy that killed my son. Now, that's not something that was hidden. It was not something that was kept from the defense. It was put out there. And I think the importance of that, Judge, is that this is not, again, this is about the weight of the evidence, and the jury is going to have that in front of them when this is done. Is this something they should consider? And if they do consider it, to what weight they do it. The idea, though, Judge, is that that was not done by the fault of law enforcement. If it was done by the fault of law enforcement, then we would have an issue as to the admittance of this evidence. But because it was not a corruption done by law enforcement or anyone related to law enforcement, that is an issue that should be left to the weight of the evidence rather than the admissibility of the evidence. So with that, Judge, I would just ask you to keep an open mind, listen to the process that was used, look at the photo lineups, and make a just determination as to the reliability and the admission of this evidence. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. I want the written record to show that Mr. Lindsey got here probably midway through Mr. Radigan's opening statement. Mr. Lindsey, we had to get going with the opening statements. We couldn't wait all day. But the critical stage is testimony, and we will begin with the defendant's first witness, Mr. Pringer.
Thank you. I'm going to call Brittany Anderson.
Okay.
Judge, before we call Ms. Anderson, I'm sorry I didn't Is it okay if David Elias, he's a law clerk in our office, if he sits at the table with me, sir?
I'm sure it is with me.
Well, all right, yeah, we'll go.
Thanks, Jeff, I just wanted to.
Ms. Anderson, would you come up this way, please? Actually, come about there, and please stop right there, and please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear you will testify to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, watch that cord and that step. Have a seat here, please. And kindly speak from the microphone. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Okay, good morning, Ms. Anderson, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine.
Thank you, good.
Ma'am, have the microphone as close to your mouth as possible, if you would. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Anderson, my name is Mr. Green, and I'm one of the attorneys defending Mr. Lindsey in this case, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions about what's transpired so far. And if you have any questions about the question or you don't understand the question, feel free to stop me, okay?
Okay.
Okay, now, how old are you?
26.
Okay, and can you tell the judge, what was your relationship to Major Hunter?
My son.
And unfortunately, I beg your pardon, we have to go over this again. I know this probably be very hard for you, but we have to go over this again, okay?
Okay.
Now, why don't you tell the judge just what happened on September 15th of 2015?
My friend, she had called me to go on 113th with her to meet her friend. So me, her, and Major had went over there. And
let me just type in, your friend is Rob Dasha Smith?
yes,
Okay. And do you still have contact with Rob Dasha?
yes,
Okay.
And by the way, did you say 113?
yes.
Okay, pardon my interruption.
Okay. Okay, so why were you guys going over there?
To meet her friend.
And who's that?
His name Eddie.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
His name Eddie.
A.D.?
Eddie.
Oh, Eddie. So Rob Dasha's going to meet Eddie.
Mhm.
Okay, and why were you going over there?
I actually had went there to go over there to see Eddie and Dexter.
Okay, and explain to the judge, who's Dexter?
He is my friend.
Well, let's talk about that. Is that also, do you have the name Deck?
Yes.
Okay, and you said he's your friend back in 2015. Can you tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Deck back in that time?
We had met like 2 months prior to that. Before. And I had started going over there to see him. So that's why we know.
So was it a sort of a romantic thing?
Yeah, it was like a little relationship
Okay,
that we had.
okay. And how long had it been going on prior to September 15th?
2 months.
About 2 months, okay. How many times do you think you would have seen him?
A lot of times.
Okay, all right. So were you guys boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
Now, at that point, September 15th, what street did Deck live on?
Out Euclid.
Oh, okay. But were you aware of any gang or association of friends of Deck that are known as the Benham Boys?
No.
Okay. Have you subsequently, as we sit here today now, learned about any involvement of Deck in the Benham Boys?
Yeah, after I did hear more.
Okay. What did you learn?
That they was into a lot of things. There was a lot of stuff going on over there that I didn't know.
Okay. And who were the Benham Boys, if you know, as you sit here now?
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
Do you know any Benham Boys as you sit here now? Who else was in that gang?
He had a few friends, Chuck, Eddie, Fred.
Okay, all right. Okay, now, do you recall what of day or night it was when you got over there on 113th?
It was around between 6 and 7.
Okay. And what was the lighting like?
It was light outside.
Okay. And still, and let's where do you remember where the car was parked? You came over and parked, right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
The car was parked. We parked in front of Eddie's house. It was like in the middle of 113 in Benham.
Okay. And what happened then after you parked the car?
After we had parked the car, Dick and Eddie had came over to the car. They had Dick grabbed Major off the car and had took him across the street on Eddie's porch. Major had got to crying, so they brought him back. So we were about to leave, and I had got out the car, and me and Dick had walked about 2-3 houses down from where the car was parked at. And we were talking, and like I noticed him like turn his head and look, so I looked the same way, and that's when I seen the white car coming down the street, and he had started shooting.
Oh, okay. Let's back it up then. Now, you said that Dick and Eddie were by the car that Major was in?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what other, did you see any other individuals by that car that evening?
It was a few people outside, but I didn't know everybody that was over there.
Okay. Did you see any other males, any other boys or friends of Dick or anything like that by the car?
Besides the 2 dudes that had took us to the hospital.
Okay. So that would have been Mr. Nance?
I don't know their name.
Okay. And how about the RJ guy?
That was my first time meeting him too.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That was my first time meeting him that day too.
Okay. But he was by the car too?
Yes.
Okay. And now was he by the car when the shooting started?
Yes.
Okay. So let's tell the judge then. So you and Dick decided to get out of the car at some point, right?
I had got out the car.
Okay. And you said that you were 2 or 3 houses away from the vehicle?
Yes.
So you guys were walking south towards, or you were walking towards Union?
Yes.
Okay. And you're 2 to 3 houses away, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said you saw Dick's head move or something?
Yeah, I had like seen him like turn and look as the car was coming down the street.
Okay. And tell the judge then, what did you see?
I seen Donnell with a gray hoodie on, but it wasn't covering his face, and I seen a gun out the window, and I seen the fire coming from the gun.
Okay. And your description actually that you gave initially, okay, I mean, you told the judge that you saw him now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today. But that you didn't say that on September 15th, did you, or 16th, correct?
I didn't say his name. I didn't know him.
Right.
That was my first time ever seeing him.
Right, okay. And the description that you gave actually was that you saw a black male,
Mm-hmm.
right, wearing a light gray hoodie pulled up over his head, right?
I said a gray hoodie.
Okay, a gray hoodie
Mm-hmm.
over his head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he had, actually, the person that you saw had dark brown skin, right?
I don't recall saying dark skin.
Okay. All right. And you don't remember saying anything about his skin with the
No.
okay. Okay. Now let's talk about the gun itself. Okay. Did you ever see the gun?
I seen fire coming from the gun.
Okay. How did that make you feel?
I just ran. I'm scared.
Well, so you were afraid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where did you and Dick, you said you ran, where did you run to?
We ran up a driveway.
Okay. Did you guys go up the same driveway?
He ran like towards the right, I ran towards the left.
Okay, and, did you ever get down on the ground?
Yes,
Did you get down on the ground immediately, or did you run up the driveway first?
we ran up the driveway and then got down. Well, I did.
Okay, all right. And how fast would you estimate that car was going up that street?
About around 30, like 40 miles.
So it was going up pretty fast, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay, and it didn't stop at all, did it?
no.
All right. Okay, now, do you remember afterwards that you went to the Metro Hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, they
Went to Cleveland Clinic.
right, first you went to the clinic, you were driven to the clinic, right,
Mm-hmm.
with Major, and how were you feeling at that time? I mean,
I was nervous and shocked.
yeah. Would you say, I mean, it's a very shocking thing that happened,
Yes.
and have you ever been shot at before?
No.
Where, could you tell where the shooter was shooting the gun at specifically?
It wasn't no certain direction he was just shooting.
And was there only one shooter or two shooters?
Only seen one person.
Okay. And would you agree that that's a very shocking thing to have to be shot at, isn't it?
Yes.
And then even more shocking than to find out the Major was hit, right?
Yes.
So you got to the Metro Clinic though, right? Oh, you went to Cleveland Clinic first,
Mm-hmm.
and then you went to
Metro.
Metro, okay. Now, do you remember talking to either uniformed police there at the clinic or any of the detectives that night?
I had spoke with a detective. He not in here.
Oh, okay. And also, do you remember if there's a uniformed officer that you talked to?
No.
Well, let me ask you this. Were police asking you as you were there at the Metro Hospital, hey, what happened?
Yeah, a couple police officers did ask, but did no one do a report.
I'm sorry?
A couple police officers had asked, but they didn't do like a report or anything. They
Okay.
just was asking.
But certainly someone in the police, had asked you at the hospital, hey, did you see the passenger, or, the shooter, what he looked like? Did you see the gun? How fast was the car going? They asked you questions about it.
I was in shock. I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Now, that all happened on September 15th, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, what I want to try to, I want you to tell me and tell the judge about, on the 21st of September, you went down and met with Detective Antioch and Detective Carlin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But on September 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, what I want to find out is, what did you hear about who was involved in this? What did you learn about? What did you see? What was the word on the street that you had heard, okay?
I had been hearing different names. I heard his name.
Well, you have to say for the record who's,
I heard Donnell name. I heard his friend AD name.
okay?
I was hearing that I really didn't never know what it was, what the whole altercation between them was. I was just really zoning a lot of stuff out, so I really wasn't paying attention to it.
Okay, what about this, did you hear about this Instagram thing, this Instagram video?
No.
You didn't hear about an Instagram video that, where the alleged shooters had posted or something to that effect, saying that, oh yeah, these were the guys that did the shooting?
No.
Okay. And, so you didn't hear anything on Facebook or Instagram or social media? Nothing about, who did this, except you heard now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and let's talk about that. you remember who told you it was Nell on Instagram? Or?
No.
Okay. You talked about in one of your interviews something about a Thai dong or something. Well, a friend of yours that lived in Cleveland Heights.
Oh, he said he had DM'd me and said that they were related. And said that, I don't know, I really can't remember. I sent it to the detective, but I really can't remember. But he said that they were related and that there was a lot of beef going on and that I should have stayed out of it. Like, rather stayed away from Dexter. But I never knew what was going on between him, and I never knew anything that he had going on.
Okay. So now, who or if you can recall, what did you hear about Nell? I mean, or who said anything about Nell that you can recall before you met with the detectives on the 21st? What did you hear?
That him and his friend had was shooting, but I couldn't never place his friend in the car because I didn't see him.
Do you know who his friend was, or who they said?
They said his name was AD.
Okay. And did they say anything about the car itself? Did you hear any noise about the car?
No.
Okay. Just that Nell and AD had done the shooting.
Had done the shooting.
Okay, now, you heard that information, right? Did you hear any other noise or any other social media that anybody else had done the shooting?
No.
Right. So the only two that you had heard were Nell and AD, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, on the 21st is when you met with the detective, right? 6 days later, came down and gave your statement, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you indicated to them that you had seen a picture of Nell on the news the night before, right?
The night before meeting with them?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked for purpose identification, the defendant's exhibit A. Can I approach that?
Good.
Okay, ma'am, I'm going to hand you what's been marked for the purpose identification, the defendant's exhibit A. Can you identify what that is?
I picked him for shooting my son.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
I said I picked him out of the lineup for shooting my son.
Okay. And the picture on the news, can you tell me about what you saw on the news? Was it that picture or a picture like that of him on the news that you saw?
It was this picture.
It was that picture, was it?
Mm-hmm.
So really, the exact picture that you picked out of the lineup on the 21st is the picture that you saw on the news the night before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you remember which news you saw? If you can remember.
It probably was 19.
Channel 19?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you remember, I'm sure Channel 19, in that, when you saw the picture, also had a story going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I mean is, they didn't just, there's a picture of Nell on the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you would agree with me then that the story was, because they had notified the fugitives on the 20th, the fugitive warrant, and they had put an arrest warrant out for him on the 20th. The story was something to the effect that this is the guy that killed Major Howard, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was a yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And one more try.
Sure.
Ms. Anderson, again, and so it's clear to the court. The only, okay, so it's clear to the judge, okay? The only description that you gave, okay, before you came in and gave that line, you picked Mr. Lindsey out of lineup, okay, was a black male, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer yes. With a gray hoodie on, or a light gray hoodie on, covering his head, correct?
Yes.
And you were also at, now you say today that you didn't say anything about his skin, but did you recall back then that you said that he had dark skin? And those are the only things that you identified the shooter as. Is that true?
Yes.
You have to speak out loud.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to hand you a spark for purpose of identification as defendant's exhibit B. May I approach you? Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sampson, can you identify what that is?
The lineup that was shown to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
The lineup that was shown to me.
Okay, now that's the lineup that was shown to you on September 21st, right, by the detectives?
Yes.
Okay, and you picked out number 4, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, can you see, I also have it up here on the Mondo pad. Can you see this okay?
Yes.
Can you tell me, there's 6 photos here, right?
Yes.
Okay, and of the 6 photos, who has dark skin?
The darkest one is number 2.
So you would say, yeah, let's try to rank them, okay? So you would agree that number 2 has the darkest skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you then go to number 1 as the next darkest skin?
Yes.
You can either look at the Mondo pad or you can look at yours, whichever. Would you then agree that perhaps number 6 has the next darkest skin?
Yes.
And how about then after that, who's got the next darkest skin?
Number 3.
Number 3, okay. Then after that, the next darkest skin, would you agree to be number 5?
No.
Okay, then who's next in your book?
Number 4.
Mr. Lindsey would be number 4. Okay, all right, thank you. Now, do you recall you were asked, in that 21st interview, at one place, Judge. You were asked, I think, by Detective Etnack in the 21st interview, whether or not the person that you saw doing the shooting had facial hair or was wearing glasses. Do you remember that? No?
No.
All right, well, let me ask you this then. At no point in any of your descriptions did you indicate to either anybody at the hospital, okay, nor did you indicate in response to the detective's question that the alleged shooter had facial hair.
No.
One moment, Judge.
Sure.
Would it help you, because you know that video, the statement you made on the 21st was recorded, okay? You're aware of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would it help you to refresh your recollection as to what you said about the perpetrator's skin tone, what color it was, if we showed you that?
That's fine.
Okay. 9:21, you have the time.
9:21.
Bring my water in there.
10:35.
Well, well, it matter not, that's her, let's just focus on 10:35.
Yeah, I was trying to get it.
Trying to get it, Judge. What about this?
Might also want to make it a little louder.
What time do you want that, Jeff?
10:35.
All I seen was the dude with the gray video and
You know what? Go to 9:23. Let's refresh your memory.
Just make sure you have the
It
record
was like a big
reflected.
toilet, a medium size, small, like from Union Avenue.
Stop. Stop.
and we seen the white car coming down the street.
Stop.
The dude, he just
Okay, Ms. Sampson, we're going to refresh your recollection if we can with what you said on the 21st, and maybe that'll help you remember today for the judge, okay? Can you see this okay?
Mhm.
And you do remember talking to Detective Petnack on the 21st of September 15th?
Yes.
Okay, is that you in the video?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Reflect the record, reflect the time. and-
Oh, yeah, the record should reflect the time is, what do you have, 9:38? Can you get 9:23?
starts our conversation and I don't even know what we talking about. And we seen the white car coming down the street. And we seen the white car coming down the street with the dude, he just pulled out his gun and got the shooting.
Who pulled out, they was the driver, the passenger?
The passenger.
Now, is this car going, is it coming from Union Avenue, coming from Regalia?
It's coming from Million.
What does this car look like?
It was white. Like the newer Toyota car.
How many doors? Was it like a big Toyota, a medium size, smaller size?
What's wrong?
Anything standing about the car, like loud radio, loud exhaust, fancy wheels or rims?
No, it's
Ten
a regular
windows.
factory car.
Okay. Haven't seen a plate on or anything like that?
No. All I seen was the dude with the gray video on it, and when I seen the picture that was on the news of him, and I'm like, that's not like I remember his.
So, and that's what you told us here today, is you remember the dude with the gray hoodie on. And then when you saw State's Exhibit A on the news, yeah, that's when you decided that was him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And before you had seen that picture, of course, you had heard social media and people saying that it was Nell and AD in the car, right?
Like I said, I was hearing it, but I never seen them before that even happened.
Right.
So when I seen the picture of him, I guess that's him. That's what I remember seeing him.
Okay. And let's continue on. We're going to talk about his skin tone.
Actually, before you do, what is your expectation of Ms. Robot? I think you should make the times of record, because I don't expect her to
You're right.
record this since it's murder.
Yeah, the record should reflect that we started watching the video at 9:23. We paused at 10:56, and we'll move forward from there. Thank you, Judge.
Like I thought I was gonna be able to picture him again, but like I told you once before when I said you that he was dark skinned and
saw the passenger?
Near the sidewalk. Okay, so say cars lined up on the street. He was driving like in the middle,
Okay.
like right directly in the middle.
When you saw the guy, was he like even with you, or was it like a couple houses away from you?
No, it was like 50 feet, not 75 feet. It was, I was walking directly in the middle of the sidewalk, so he was,
So it's in 11:59.
Yeah, pausing at 11:59. Ms. Anderson, how far away was the shooter when you saw him? Do you recall?
It was, the car was in the middle, like driving down the middle of the street.
Okay. Did you tell the detective, not the detective, that it was like 50 to 75 feet away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to say yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. Now, at some point, I want to ask you, because you came and did an interview on January 27th, do you remember?
Yes.
You came back down. Now, why did you come back down on January 27th? Do you remember?
Because I had got a subpoena to come to court, and then they wanted me to.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
Because I had got a subpoena to come to court, and they wanted me to come down and talk to them first.
And January 27th of 16?
Oh wait, I think you talking about January last.
1 year ago.
I don't remember what I came down for.
Was that maybe when you'd heard that AD had been let go, and that maybe you had some concerns why AD had been let go?
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that. I had
Okay.
came down.
Can you explain that to the judge? Why you came down?
Because I had heard that, I heard that he had got released, and I had wanted to know why.
And AD was someone that had been charged, right?
Yes,
Also in the case. So you were like, what's up, right? What's
Yes.
going on? During the course of that interview, you indicated that Dexter had told you, or some way indicated to you, that Nell and AD did the shooting, right?
he never specifically told me that they did it. He never explained to me what they were into it about or anything that was going on.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said he never said to me, well, was there altercation together? Like, he never explained to me what was going on.
Okay, no, but he said that Nell and AD did the shooting. Didn't he tell you that
No.
before he died?
No.
Okay. Let's get to the 27th here.
Before he died,
Can you tell the judge? Wait. Okay.
Your Honor, I think we would stipulate to the fact that Dexter Mangum was murdered on Euclid Avenue in East Fourth a couple weeks after this homicide.
so September or October 2015?
Correct.
Pardon me.
Sorry. Yeah.
Where would you like it?
One moment, Charlie, please.
Sure. While they're doing that, this happened on 113, you said,
Yes.
between Union and Benham?
Yes.
And the white car was going what direction?
Towards, Rio.
Towards
Well, it was coming off Union towards the,
the south? And side of the street, were you on the passenger side or the driver's side?
Passenger side.
Okay. Did you ever get a look at the driver?
No.
Pardon my honor.
11:19.
Make sure the record reflects that.
Okay, yeah, we should get there. Your Honor, for the record, we're
And
going,
the car was hit. Bad, sir, because there were bullet holes all over it. I'm talking in the windshield.
okay, so, for the record, we're gonna look at the, 9/27, I'm sorry, January 27, 16 interview with, Brittany with Detective Carlin.
To the side, the driver's side, all over. So
At the time.
gunshots were coming all over.
I'd like to start at 11:19 to 12:54, but first, before we do that, again, Brittany, you had indicated, and you indicated to the detectives, and you indicated today that this was a very shocking experience for you, right?
Yes.
And it's fair to say, a very traumatic event for you,
Yes.
right? And again, I want you to review this statement to Detective Carlin that you made back on January 27th of 16, okay? Go ahead.
For a place. I'm having a difficult time believing you didn't see anybody shooting.
No, I didn't see nobody shooting. Because he went in one driveway, I went up another driveway. Once I heard it stop, I came out. I forgot that I even had my son with me. Like, cause I was just so in shock, cause I'd never even been in that situation. And on top of that, I never,
So you were in such a state of shock that you even forgot that you had Major with you. That's how traumatic this was for you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
This is stopped at 11:40.
We stopped at 11:40, so we went from 11:19 to 11:40. And let's go to 12,
Wait, you want to continue this?
okay, yeah, okay, we'll go up to 12:54.
when Dexter was into. Never. Even after the shooting, we never had a discussion about it, like who, I mean, he just said like, I know he said like it was Nell and AD. That's all he said to me. But
So
he,
Dexter told you it was in the car.
No, keep going, close.
and he told me it was Nell and AD in the car. I mean, after that, I didn't ask him like what.
We stopped at 12:06. Okay, now, having looked at your interview that you had back on January 27th with Detective Carlin sitting here, where you indicated that Dexter told you it was Nell and AD in the car. Does that refresh your recollection?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer
Yes.
yes. Okay. So, in fact, what I want to try to find out is, when did Dexter tell you that it was Nell and AD in the car?
We were in the car on the west side.
So, what date, when? Give me some time frame on this.
We had, after Major got shot, I was around him like a couple of days before the video.
Okay.
And we were in the car and he was just saying, he did say that AD and Nell did it because we had picked up someone off the west side. And his friend from the west side had started talking about it, but I guess he didn't know who I was.
Oh.
So I guess that's why he had ended up saying
Who was the guy from the west side?
his name, Mike.
So, and this was even before you had gone down to make that initial 9/21 interview, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did Deck explain, why did he say it was Nell and AD?
He knew them.
Right.
So
How about the car? Did Deck know the car itself?
no,
Did he ever indicate that?
no.
Yeah, but he did say that it was Nell and AD. And in fact, he said that to you even before you saw the Channel 19 news, right?
Yes.
One moment, Judge.
Sure.
Ms. Anderson, I want to go back to one other thing. When you were at the hospital at Metro, okay, you in fact did talk to an officer by the name of Jeffrey Walter. This would have been a uniformed officer, okay? Do you recall that at all?
No.
Okay. Do you recall talking to any uniformed officer, whatever his name is?
Like I said, I was talking to someone, but they didn't like make a report or anything. Like I had a couple people ask like what had happened.
Okay, sure. And you recall in answering one of their questions, you indicated to them that you in fact were 8 feet away from the shooter at the time of the shooting.
No.
All right, great.
Well, no to what? That you were 8 feet away, or that
No,
you
I
even
wasn't.
said that?
I didn't say that.
No?
Were you 8 feet away?
No, I wasn't.
Pardon my interruption.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm good. I have no further questions. Thank you, ma'am.
I thank you, Mr. Green. Have an examination, Mr. Raddick.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Brittany, I just have a few questions for you. We've met before, right?
Yes.
You know me, I'm Brian Radigan, I'm one of the prosecutors working on this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Brittany, when you saw the picture on the news of Donnell Lindsey, had you ever seen him before?
No.
Okay. Did you know Donnell Lindsey before seeing the picture of him on the news?
No.
Okay. When you went and spoke with the police prior to identifying Mr. Lindsey, did you make them aware of the fact that you had seen his picture on the news?
Yes.
Okay. And Brittany, what was your reaction when you saw his picture on the news the first time?
That was him that I remember seeing him.
Okay. Why? So, let me ask you this. When you saw that picture, in your mind, you said, this is the person that shot my son.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the time after that part where you saw the picture of Mr. Lindsey and you identified him in the photo array, did there ever come a time when you saw a picture of this person named AD?
No.
Okay. If you were to see a picture of AD, would you be able to identify him?
No, I would, yes.
Now you would, why?
Because I haven't seen the picture from like the news and being posted on Instagram and stuff.
Okay. When you saw his picture, did you say that's the person that was driving the car? What you remember?
No.
Okay, why not?
I never seen them.
Okay. So even though you saw his picture, you've seen his picture, as you come in here today, you would testify, I cannot identify him because I did not see him in the car.
Right.
I have one moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ms. Anderson, as you sit here in the courtroom today, do you see the individual that you identified as the person that shot and killed your son?
Yes.
Can you point to him and describe for me what he's wearing, please?
Orange.
Okay, where is he sitting? You're pointing where?
Between the lady and the guy.
Okay. Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
Sure.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, if you are describing someone who's African-American, black, do you use the terms light-skinned or dark-skinned?
Yes.
And are there people that you wouldn't say are light or dark, they're somewhere in the middle?
I might say like brown skin or something like that.
Okay. The man you just pointed to, how would you describe his skin?
Brown skin.
Brown skin?
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere in, so kind of in the middle?
Yeah.
When the shots started being fired, did you think there was a danger that your son or anybody else in the car you had just left might be getting hit?
Not till after the fact, because like it happened so fast.
Well, actually, that's what I'm getting at then. When did you realize that maybe somebody in the car got hit?
When my friend opened the car door and she said that
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I missed it when she said.
my friend opened the door and said that they had got shot.
And about how soon was that after the, well, let me ask another question first. What happened to the white Toyota after the shots were fired?
It was gone.
Kept going south on 113?
Yes.
Right. So and that white Toyota was gone, and then what, your friend yelled something out?
Yes, she had opened the car door and said they were shot.
All right. And that happened how quickly, though, after the shots had been fired and you realized neither you nor Mangum were hit?
Like, not that long, like 30, 40 seconds.
Okay. You saw the video from September 21st. You could see the questioner from behind. Do you know who that was? Remember the first video from September 21st? Actually, let me ask you about this one from January 1st, January 27th. Do you know the detective's name who's interviewing you?
No, but I remember. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about in that picture there.
Yeah, in the red.
Well, I would
Oh,
say
no, that's the
green.
lady. Yeah,
Do you know her name?
Detective Pryor.
Okay. And do you remember the other detective who interviewed you? I think he did have a red shirt on.
Yeah,
Do you remember his name?
no.
Was it though Carlin or the other guy whose name actually is Antonak? Was it one of those two who gave you the whole photo lineup, or was it a third person?
No, it was him.
Antonak?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. We'll go off the record for one moment. Do you imagine you have much in the way of reexamination? And the same?
Nothing, Judge.
So, Lisa, you okay?
Aye.
Why don't we conclude this witness and we'll take a short break? So, we're back on the record. Do you have any re-exam based upon what's been asked at your last inquiry, Mr. Green?
Yes, thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Ms. Anderson, so it's clear for us in the court, before you went down on the 21st of September, right, in 15, and picked Mr. Donnell Lindsey on a position 4 in the lineup, as indicated in Defendant's Exhibit B, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so before you did that, you had heard on social media, okay, you heard on social media that it was Nell and AD that had done the shooting, right?
I said that I had heard it from Dexter and that I had heard it on the news.
Yeah, I think you also indicated earlier this morning that you also heard on other social media that it was Nell and AD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did?
Yes.
Okay, and then you saw the picture on the news, right?
Yes.
And that news, that it wasn't just his picture on the news, but it was a news report stating that this is the man who shot Major Howard, or something to that effect, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then also, as you indicated now, that you also had talked to Deck, and Deck had indicated to you, in fact, that it was Nell and AV that had done the shooting, right?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, as you indicated earlier, you were Deck's girlfriend still at that point, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay. And you would consider Deck a very trustworthy source, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Green. And anything based on what's been asked since the last inquiry, Mr. Radley?
Might I just have one moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Your Honor, I think we just have a stipulation for this witness. It was not Detective Antonak that did the actual photo line. It was Detective Go with the police department. I think the defense will stipulate to that.
Yeah, it was not detected that did the line, but either Go or Fishback on that. Go, it was detected Go, we would stipulate that.
So it looked like Antonak?
No.
No.
Antonak was doing the interview and then sent in Detective Go to be the line administrator.
Was Antonak, what would Antonak say, and Go, was Antonak in the room at the time?
No, he was not.
No.
So Ms. Anderson, hearing that the lawyers agree it was the third detective who gave the lineup, does that sound right? Apparently his name's Go. Or don't shoot the calls.
Then he came in and just showed the lineup and he left right back out. He had his time.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. With that stipulation, Judge, I don't have any follow-up questions.
Ma'am, thank you for coming down here, we appreciate it. You're welcome to the Who do you expect your next witness is?
Either Detective Carl or Detective that.
Okay. All right, so let's take, let's call a 15-minute break, we'll go back on at 10:45.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
How many other witnesses do you, at some point it'll be Carlin, Antonak, and Go? Mark?
Yes, Your Honor.
So 4 police officers,
Walters and Brooks. Detective.
oh, they're also police officers?
Yes.
So 6 police officers,